The Lady in the Van is a 2015 British comedy-drama film directed by Nicholas Hytner, written by Alan Bennett, and starring Maggie Smith and Alex Jennings. It tells the true story of Mary Shepherd, an elderly woman who lived in a dilapidated van on Bennett's driveway in London for 15 years. Smith previously portrayed Shepherd twice in the original 1999 theatrical production, which earned her a Best Actress nomination at the 2000 Olivier Awards, and in the 2009 BBC Radio 4 adaptation. Hytner directed the original stage production at the Queen's Theatre in London, while Bennett adapted the screenplay from his 1999 West End play of the same name, which was nominated at the 2000 Olivier Awards for Play of the Year. The film was shown in the Special Presentations section of the 2015 Toronto International Film Festival and received largely positive reviews from critics. Plot: The Lady in the Van tells the true story of Alan Bennett's strained friendship with Miss Mary Shepherd, an eccentric homeless woman whom Bennett befriended in the 1970s before allowing her temporarily to park her Bedford van in the driveway of his Camden home. She stayed there for 15 years. As the story develops, Bennett learns that Miss Shepherd is really Margaret Fairchild, a former gifted pupil of the pianist Alfred Cortot. She had played Chopin in a promenade concert, tried to become a nun, was committed to an institution by her brother, escaped, had an accident when her van was hit by a motorcyclist for which she believed herself to blame, and thereafter lived in fear of arrest. Cast: Maggie Smith as Miss Mary Shepherd, Margaret Fairchild, Alex Jennings as Alan Bennett, Claire Hammond as young Margaret Fairchild, Roger Allam as Rufus, Deborah Findlay as Pauline, Jim Broadbent as Underwood, Claire Foy as Lois, Cecilia Noble as Miss Briscoe, Gwen Taylor as Mum, Frances de la Tour as Ursula Vaughan-Williams, Nicholas Burns as Giles Perry, Pandora Collin as Mrs. Perry. The principal cast of Bennett's The History Boys appear in cameo roles, with the exception of de la Tour, who has a more prominent role in this film, and Richard Griffiths, who died in 2013. This includes Samuel Barnett as Donald, Samuel Anderson as a Jehovah's Witness, Stephen Campbell Moore as a doctor, Dominic Cooper as a theatre actor, James Corden as a street trader, Sacha Dhawan as Dr. Malak, Andrew Knott as an ambulance driver, Clive Merrison as a man attending confession, Jamie Parker as an estate agent, and Russell Tovey as a man with an earring. Production development: The Lady in the Van was greenlit on 3 June 2014, with TriStar Productions and BBC Films working together to make the film adaptation of Alan Bennett's West End hit. TriStar won the film rights to handle worldwide distribution, while the BBC was the first to show the film on television in the UK. The involvement of Maggie Smith and Nicholas Hytner was announced simultaneously with the film, but they were attached to the project as early as 9 May, coincidentally Bennett's 80th birthday. Both of them had collaborated with Bennett in the past, Hytner on The Madness of King George in 1994, and the film adaptation of The History Boys in 2006, while Smith had portrayed Miss Shepherd in the original theatre production in 1999, and again in a 2009 radio adaptation by BBC Radio 4. Filming. Principal photography began at 23 Gloucester Crescent, 51.538,681, -0.145,635. In North London in October 2014. The film was shot in and around Bennett's old house in Camden Town, where the real Miss Shepherd spent 15 years on his driveway. According to Hytner, they never considered filming anywhere else. and it was entertaining to see the look on all the residents' faces, many of whom were there when the van drove down the crescent. Filming was a difficult experience for Smith because she spent most of her time confined to one van or another. According to Smith, the van wasn't the most comfortable of places, and the film was much more concentrated than the play. The stage version was more physically demanding, but Smith admitted it was a long time ago and she could handle it back then. She jokes that not a lot of method acting was required when one were dressed as she was, and in a van. The production crew filmed for 2 days in November 2014 in Broadstairs in Thanet, Kent, notably Viking Bay, featuring Morelli's Gelato and the Palace Cinema. Producer Kevin Loder described Viking Bay as the perfect location, and said the area had benefited by £40,000, as the 50-strong crew stayed locally and took advantage of the various restaurants and bars. Buckmaster House in Broadstairs, the only filming location outside London, was featured as Bennett's mother's nursing home in Weston-super-Mare. The scenes which take place in church were filmed at the Church of St. Silas the Martyr in Kentish Town. Music. The film's score consists of classical music by Chopin and others. Some additional music was composed by George Fenton. It was released as a soundtrack album through Sony Classical Records, a subsidiary of Sony Music Entertainment, on 6 November 2015 in the United Kingdom. This was followed by an 11th of December release in the United States. Release. The worldwide premiere was held on 12 September 2015, at the Toronto International Film Festival. This was followed by the UK premiere on 13 October at the 59th BFI London Film Festival, which, in turn, was succeeded by the US premiere on 15 November, at the 38th Denver International Film Festival. It was released in UK theatres on 13 November 2015, while there was a limited theatrical release on 15 January 2016 in the US. Marketing. The first trailer was released on 26 February 2015, followed by a teaser poster on 5 March. A new and extended trailer was released on 4 September. Reception. Box office. As of 20 March 2016, The Lady in the Van has grossed $35.8 million worldwide, $18.9 million in the United Kingdom and $8.8 million in North America. Critical reception. The Lady in the Van received positive reviews, with particular praise being aimed at Smith's acting. Rotten Tomatoes gave the film a rating of 91%, based on 132 reviews, with an average rating of 7.2. The site's consensus states, led by a marvelous performance from Maggie Smith, Lady in the Van rings poignant, often hilarious insight from its fact-based source material. On Metacritic, the film holds a score of 70 out of 100, based on 30 critics, indicating generally favorable reviews. Guy Lodge, of Variety magazine, attended the worldwide premiere at the Toronto International Film Festival. After the screening, he described Smith's portrayal of Mary Shepherd as one of the most tailor-made leading roles of her late career, even though, he says, the film is low on narrative drive and marred by a misjudged final act. Hytner's amiable love fest is enlivened by Smith's signature irascibility. Silver dollar ords should turn up, if not in droves, at least in healthy van loads. Quote, Frank Scheck, of The Hollywood Reporter, also attended the premiere, and like Lodge, he felt Smith's character was the driving force behind the film. Not to his surprise, Smith fully exploits the humor in her character's bizarreness. For example, when her character receives guidance from the Virgin Mary, her utter obliviousness to her lack of personal hygiene her hatred of music that sends her fleeing whenever she hears a note, and her ragtag wardrobe that's been assembled from various dumpsters. In spite of the humor, Scheck praised Smith for subtly conveying the emotional pain and desperation of an addled old woman, especially in the scenes where she is taken away by social services and gently treated to a thorough washing, feeding and medical examination. Ian Nathan, of Empire magazine, awarded the film 4 out of 5 stars. Like many, he applauded Smith's liberating role, describing her as shrill and hilarious, but not a joke. He also commended the directing, saying, "Unsure to a fault, Hytner delivers a fine, moving comedy of English manners between a writer and his eccentric tenant, which slowly deepens into an exploration of human bonds." In a similar fashion, Peter Bradshaw, of The Guardian, awarded 4 out of 5 stars and called it an enjoyable film from Nicholas Hytner. While he felt Smith's performance, honed from previous stage and radio adaptations, was terrifically good, he praised Jennings for giving a sharp and sympathetic performance as Bennett. Donald Clark, of the Irish Times, awarded the film 3 out of 5 stars. He said Smith's role is indecently appropriate, while de la Tour's is fabulous, and Allam's is equally as good as the latter. The problem with the film is that, like Miss Shepherd's van, the story rarely moves on. It remains gracelessly the same throughout, with narrative details being plucked like unattached footnotes when the characters do open up. During a bafflingly appalling final scene, you rather wish the doors had remained shut. Also awarding 3 out of 5 stars. Stella Papamichael, of the Radio Times, had similar feelings. She said, "Smith and Jennings' characters veer close to a moment of pathos towards the end of the film, but it's not too profound. The social awkwardness leaves a more lingering impression on the audience." Jesse Hassinger, of the AV Club, gave a rotten review, stating that, by design, The Lady in the Van is flawed, because the film is supposed to be revealing Bennett, not Shepherd, a fact that many will be reminded of before the film's end. Smith's character is very commanding on screen, while Jennings honorably tends to his character's quiet, semi-closeted homosexuality. No matter how many meaningful considerations of mortality are thrown his way through the screenplay, Jennings doesn't have a chance against Smith. On the contrary, Slant magazine's Elise Naknickian said the film is all about the fastidious, somewhat timid, and reclusive playwright Alan Bennett, and stated the film's annoying glibness is neatly summarized by the line, "In life, going downhill is an uphill job." Accolades: The Lady in the Van at the Internet Movie Database, The Lady in the Van at Box Office Mojo, The Lady in the Van at Rotten Tomatoes, The Lady in the Van at Metacritic.